Imagine standing at the edge of paradise. The water shimmers like liquid sapphire. The rocks glow golden in the afternoon sun. Your camera fills with images that look like they belong on magazine covers. You feel like you've discovered heaven on earth. But here's what the guidebooks won't tell you. You're standing in one of the deadliest places on the planet. We scroll through travel photos every day. Waterfalls, canyons, crystal clear pools, places that seem designed to take our breath away. But some of them? They'll take more than your breath. Hidden beneath that Instagram-perfect beauty lies danger so extreme that a single misstep can turn your dream vacation into a nightmare. Today, I'm counting down the top 15 most beautiful places that will actually kill you. Some are famous destinations you've seen online. Others are remote wonders few have heard of. But all share one chilling truth. They look like paradise, but guard their beauty with lethal force. Stay until the very end, because the #1 location has already claimed over 1,700 lives in a single night. A mass death so sudden that scientists are still haunted by what they discovered. Let's begin. Number 15. Horseshoe Bend, Arizona, the canyon that swallows selfie takers. Picture the Colorado River carving through ancient sandstone in a perfect horseshoe curve 1,000 feet below. The stone glows burnt orange, the water emerald green. It's one of the most photographed places in America. The trail is easy, barely a mile. Then you reach the edge. No barriers, no railings, just smooth Navajo sandstone sloping toward a sheer drop, the length of 3 football fields. Here's the trap. The rock is polished smooth by wind. When hot, your shoes slip. When dusty, your footing vanishes. The edge isn't a clean line. Chunks break off without warning, sometimes taking people with them. The view is so hypnotic that people forget where they are. They step backward for the perfect selfie. They lean out to capture the curve. And then gravity takes over. Most victims don't scream. They simply vanish over the edge. Psychologists call it target fixation. Focus narrows so completely on the view that we lose all awareness of danger. The lesson? Horseshoe Bend demands your full attention, not just your camera. That's Horseshoe Bend, where 1,000 feet of empty air waits beneath your feet, dressed in the most beautiful disguise. Number 14. The Blue Lagoon, Buxton, England. A toxic paradise. Imagine stumbling upon a hidden oasis in the English countryside. The water is electric turquoise, almost glowing, surrounded by limestone cliffs. It looks like a secret swimming hole. Except that mesmerizing color isn't natural beauty. It's a chemical warning. This abandoned quarry filled with rainwater that mixed with toxic alkaline waste. The pH is closer to bleach than water, caustic enough to burn skin, strip paint, and cause severe infections. But people swim in it anyway. Despite warning signs, visitors scale barriers every summer, diving into that blue dream. Within hours, their skin erupts in chemical burns and blistering rashes. Authorities have dyed the water black multiple times. It always fades back to that seductive blue. Nothing works. The allure is too strong. We're hardwired to associate clear blue water with purity and safety. But the Blue Lagoon weaponizes that instinct, using our survival programming against us. That's the Blue Lagoon, where the most dangerous waters wear the mask of heaven, and every reflection is a lie painted in electric blue. Number 13. Lake Nyos, Tanzania, the water that turns life to stone. The Rift Valley holds a vast lake that shimmers in impossible colors: crimson red, burning orange, electric pink. Thousands of flamingos wade through shallows, creating rivers of pink against scarlet water. It's surreal, alien, breathtaking. Walk closer, and you'll see calcified remains of birds and bats along the shore, their bodies turned to stone where they fell, wings frozen mid-flight, beaks open in silent cries. Lake Natron is one of Earth's most alkaline bodies of water, with pH reaching 10.5, nearly as caustic as ammonia. Birds disoriented by the mirror-like surface sometimes crash into it. The alkaline water burns them, then minerals encase them in salt and calcium, preserving them as eternal monuments. Yet here's the paradox. Lesser flamingos thrive here precisely because conditions are so extreme. The caustic waters protect their nesting grounds from predators. For them, this toxic paradise is the safest nursery on Earth. Lake Natron teaches a humbling lesson. What's deadly to you may be sanctuary to something else. Beauty isn't universal. It's adapted, chosen. That's Lake Natron, where water doesn't give life or take it cleanly, but freezes it in stone, turning death itself into terrible art. Number 12. Giant's Causeway, Northern Ireland, where the Atlantic shows no mercy. 40,000 hexagonal basalt columns rise from the sea like ruins of an ancient civilization, each stone a precise polygon locked into its neighbors. Legend says the giant Finn McCool built this causeway to Scotland. Science says volcanic eruptions created it 60 million years ago. Tourists walk across the stones, photographing the symmetry. The tidal pools look clear and calm, trapped between hexagonal pillars. Children wade in them. It seems perfectly safe, until the ocean decides otherwise. This coastline is notorious for rogue waves, massive walls of water that appear without warning from distant storms. They strike with freight train force, sweeping people off the causeway with no chance to react. The Atlantic keeps what it claims, pulling victims into underwater caves between the columns where no diver can reach. Local fishermen say, "The Giant's Causeway isn't a place you visit. It's a place that decides whether to let you leave." That's the Giant's Causeway, where geometric perfection meets liquid chaos, and the line between wonder and drowning is one rogue wave away. Number 11. Danakil Depression, Ethiopia, Hell's Palette. Descend into a landscape that looks like another planet. Sulfur pools bubble in acid yellow and neon green. Salt formations rise in jagged spires, stained red and orange. Hot springs boil in craters glowing electric blue. Volcanoes smolder on the horizon. This is the Danakil Depression, one of the lowest, hottest, most hostile places on Earth. It sits 410 feet below sea level, where 3 tectonic plates are ripping Africa apart. Temperatures exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Scientists call it one of the most geologically active places on the planet. The colors are unlike anything else, a painter's fever dream in mineral and sulfur. But the air is laced with toxic gases that burn your lungs. The ground can collapse without warning, plunging you into boiling acidic water below. Dehydration sets in within hours. The Afar people have lived here for millennia, mining salt. They know which springs are safe, where the ground is solid. But for visitors, every step is a gamble with geology that doesn't care whether you make it home. That's the Danakil Depression, where Earth's crust tears itself apart in the most beautiful way possible, painting hell in colors that make you forget you're dying just by being there. Number 10. The Strid, Bolton Abbey, England. The stream that's really an abyss. Picture a peaceful English countryside. A gentle river called the Wharfe meanders through pastoral beauty. Then the river narrows. At a place called the Strid, the wharf compresses from 30 feet wide to barely 6 feet across. You could jump it. It looks like a gentle stream, maybe chest deep at most. But beneath that innocent surface lies one of the most lethal waterways in the world. You're seeing the same volume of water turned vertical, 30 feet deep in a 6-foot channel. The current is catastrophic, creating underwater whirlpools and carved chambers that act like traps. The Strid has a 100% fatality rate. Every single person who has fallen in has died. Not most. All. The current pulls you under instantly, slamming you into underwater tunnels carved by millennia of erosive force. Bodies are rarely recovered, held in underwater caves until the river decides to release them months later. Medieval monks kept records of the deaths. Victorian tourists ignored the warnings. Modern hikers do the same. That's Bolton Strid, where 6 feet of water hide 30 feet of death, and the prettiest stream in England has never given back a single soul. Number 9. Huayna Picchu, Peru, the Stairs of the Sun. Imagine climbing above the clouds. Below, Machu Picchu spreads across terraced ridges. Above, the peak of Huayna Picchu rises like a shark's fin. The Inca built stairs up its face, carved directly into the mountain. Stairs that lead to temples that touch the sky. Those stairs are how you die. The climb ascends 1,000 feet at angles that make your knees shake. The steps are original Inca stonework, uneven, worn smooth by centuries, barely wider than your boot. Some are less than 6 inches deep. There are no railings, nothing between you and a plunge through hundreds of feet of cloud and rock. At the steepest section, the Stairs of Death, the path hugs a cliff face so sheer you can't look down without vertigo crushing your courage. People freeze mid-step, gripping the rock, unable to move forward or back. The Inca built these stairs as a test of worthiness, a physical pilgrimage separating the devoted from the curious. Modern tourists climb for Instagram photos, but the mountain hasn't changed its standards. Peruvian authorities limit climbers to 400 daily and require waivers. Every year, people fall. Some slip on wet stone. Others suffer heart attacks from altitude. A few simply misjudge the edge. That's Huayna Picchu, where every step is a prayer, every view is earned, and the stairs to heaven are the same stairs to death. Number 8. Lake Karachay, Russia, the most radioactive lake on Earth. Picture a small lake in the Ural Mountains. The water is still, reflecting the sky. Trees line the shore. From a distance, it could be any backcountry fishing spot. Spend an hour on its shore, and you'd receive a lethal dose of radiation. This is Lake Karachay, the single most polluted place on the planet. For decades, it served as a dumping ground for radioactive waste from the Mayak nuclear facility. The Soviet Union poured over 120 million curies of radioactive material into this lake. Enough radiation to kill you in minutes. 1 hour of exposure in the 1990s would give you 600 Roentgens, enough to guarantee death within days. The danger is invisible. No smell, no taste, no color. But on a cellular level, your DNA is being shredded. In 1967, a drought exposed the lakebed, and wind carried radioactive dust across 9,000 square miles, contaminating 500,000 people. The disaster was worse than Chernobyl in some ways, but buried under Cold War secrecy. Today, Russian authorities have partially filled the lake with concrete, but the contamination will remain deadly for tens of thousands of years, longer than human civilization has existed. That's Lake Karachay, where the water reflects the sky and destroys your future, where beauty and annihilation coexist in perfect silence. Number 7. Skellig Michael, Ireland, the monastery at the end of the world. Imagine a jagged pyramid of rock rising 700 feet from the Atlantic, 8 miles off Ireland's coast. Waves crash with artillery force. At the summit, perched impossibly on stone platforms, stand the ruins of a medieval monastery. To reach it, you must climb 600 ancient stone steps without railings, hugging a cliff face that drops straight into the churning sea. The stairs are uneven, worn smooth by centuries. Some are only inches wide. Mist and rain make them slick. Wind gusts can knock you off balance toward 700 feet of air and ocean. These stairs weren't built for casual tourists. They were built for monks who knew every crack, who moved with careful precision, understanding that one mistake meant death with no rescue. Tours are canceled more often than they run. When you do land, you're warned repeatedly. Despite this, people fall. In 2009, an American tourist died tumbling down the stairs. But here's what makes Skellig Michael compelling. The monks chose this danger. For them, living on the edge of the world, where one misstep meant eternity, brought them closer to God. The danger was the point. That's Skellig Michael, where medieval monks met God on a pinnacle of stone, and modern tourists meet the same dangerous beauty that made those monks believe heaven and earth barely separated at all. Number 6. Devil's Pool, Victoria Falls. Swimming at the edge of oblivion. Imagine standing at the edge of Victoria Falls. Over 500 million liters of water per minute thunder over a cliff that drops 355 feet. The roar is deafening. Rainbows dance in the spray. And during certain months, you can swim at its very edge. Devil's Pool is a natural rock pool that forms when water levels drop during dry season. It sits literally at the waterfall's lip, separated from the abyss by a barely submerged rock barrier. You can swim to the edge, grip the rocks, and peer into the chasm where the Zambezi River disappears into mist. The water pulls at you, current tugging toward the edge with unthinkable force. You hold rocks with white knuckles, feeling the vibration of millions of gallons plunging just feet away. The pool is safe only because of that submerged barrier, and only at specific water levels. But levels change. Flash floods arrive without warning. Every year, people die at Victoria Falls, not always in the pool, but surrounding areas where they underestimate the current or venture too close to edges. Indigenous guides treat it with ritual seriousness. They know the river's moods when conditions are right. They've seen people freeze in panic, unable to leave because the journey back requires turning your back on the falls. That's Devil's Pool, where you can touch the edge of death and feel fully alive, where the line between thrill and disaster is measured in inches of submerged rock. Number 5. Mount Hua, China, the Plank Walk of Death. Imagine ascending one of China's 5 sacred mountains. The trail is ancient, carved by monks over thousands of years. But the dangerous part comes when the stone path ends and the planks begin. This is Mount Hua's Changkong Plank Road. Wooden planks about a foot wide, bolted into the cliff face 7,000 feet above the valley. That's it. No railings. Nothing but air on one side and vertical rock on the other. The planks creak. Some are rotted. You wear a safety harness clipped to a rusty chain that looks Ming Dynasty era. The walk is only 100 feet long but feels eternal. Every step requires absolute focus. Your legs shake. Wind buffets you. Below? 7,000 feet of nothing. If you slip, the harness should catch you. Should. This path was built centuries ago by Taoist hermits reaching a remote temple. For them, the danger was spiritual testing. Today, it's a tourist attraction. Thousands cross yearly in sneakers and selfie sticks. Authorities now require harnesses, a relatively recent addition. For most of its history, you crossed on faith alone. People have died here. Some from falls when harnesses failed. Others from heart attacks triggered by fear. A few froze mid-plank, unable to move. That's Mount Hua's Plank Walk, where ancient faith meets modern thrill-seeking, and wooden boards and rusty chains are all that stand between you and a 7,000-foot lesson in gravity. Number 4. The Door to Hell, Turkmenistan, the crater that's been burning for 50 years. Picture the Karakum Desert. Then the ground opens up, a crater 230 feet wide and 65 feet deep, glowing like a portal to another dimension. Flames roar from hundreds of vents. The heat is so intense you can't approach without shielding your face. They call it the Door to Hell. In 1971, Soviet geologists drilling for oil accidentally punched through a cavern roof. The ground collapsed, releasing massive amounts of natural gas. Fearing it would poison nearby villages, they decided to burn it off, expecting it to consume in weeks. It's been burning for over 50 years. What makes this dangerous isn't just the fire, it's the instability. The ground is honeycombed with gas pockets. The edge crumbles. Photographers venturing close sometimes stand on overhangs that break away. Fall into that crater, and there's no rescue. You'd be incinerated before hitting bottom. At the rim, temperatures can exceed 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Get too close, and your clothes could catch fire. The crater creates its own weather, updrafts generating dust devils spiraling from the flames. Yet tourists camp at the crater's edge, photographing the fire at night when it glows brightest. That's the door to hell, where a Soviet drilling accident created Earth's most beautiful mistake, where fire has outlasted empires, and where the edge is the edge between our world and darker dimensions entirely. Number 3. Antelope Canyon, Arizona, where beauty drowns in minutes. Imagine walking between walls of stone that flow like frozen water. The sandstone glows amber, orange, red, purple, sculpted by wind and flash floods into curves so graceful they look painted. Light beams pierce through ceiling gaps in shafts of pure gold. It's also a death trap. Antelope Canyon is a slot canyon barely wide enough to walk through, with walls rising over 100 feet. The stone glows because it's been polished by violent torrents that tear through with zero warning, filling the canyon from floor to ceiling in seconds. It doesn't have to be raining where you are. A storm 20 miles away channels run off into the canyon, building into a wall of water that roars through like a freight train. You hear it before you see it. Then it's on you. No time to climb. No time to run. In 1997, 11 tourists died when a flash flood hit. The Navajo guide heard the water coming and screamed for everyone to climb. Some made it. Others weren't fast enough. The flood filled the canyon in seconds, their bodies found miles away, battered by rocks and current. The walls are smooth, nothing to grip, no ledges. You're standing in a vertical riverbed, and when the river flows, everything is swept away. That's Antelope Canyon, where nature's most exquisite work is also its deadliest lesson, where glowing stone hides memory of water that can turn paradise into a drowning chamber in seconds. Number 2. Jacob's Well, Texas, the natural spring. That's really an underwater labyrinth. Imagine a natural spring in the Texas Hill Country. Crystal clear water bubbling into a pool about 12 feet wide. The water is so transparent, you can see straight down to where light fades into deep blue. It's a beloved swimming hole. Kids jump from the rocks. It looks like paradise. But beneath that surface lies one of the most dangerous cave systems in the United States. Jacob's Well descends over 140 feet through chambers, tunnels, and passages. The first chamber is spacious and beautiful, lit by sunlight, looking like an IMAX documentary. That's what lures divers in. Past that, passages narrow, twist, become a maze of death. At least 8 people have died diving Jacob's Well. Most were experienced cave divers. They descended confident, eager to explore deeper. But cave diving is inherently lethal. Tight passages, zero visibility if you stir silt, disorientation in 3-dimensional space with no clear up, and finite air. In the 4th chamber, a narrow passage requiring tank removal to squeeze through, most deaths occur. Divers get stuck. They panic. They run out of air. And they die, trapped in stone. What makes Jacob's Well psychologically complex is how welcoming it appears. The opening is easy. The first chamber is safe and spectacular. It seduces you into thinking the rest will be the same. By the time you realize the danger, you're too deep to escape. That's Jacob's Well, where crystal clear water hides a stone labyrinth that has swallowed some of the world's best divers, where beauty at the surface is bait for death below. Number 1. Lake Nyos, Cameroon. The lake that exploded and killed 1,700 people in one night. Imagine a crater lake in the mountains of Cameroon. Deep, calm, an impossible shade of blue. Children play at its shores. Fishermen drift in canoes. It looks as safe as any lake in the world. On August 21, 1986, Lake Nyos exploded with gas and killed over 1,700 people in a single night. Deep beneath the lake, volcanic vents leak carbon dioxide. Under normal conditions, this gas stays trapped in lower layers. But that August night, something triggered a release. The lake turned over, and 300 million cubic meters of CO2 burst from the water in a massive invisible cloud. Carbon dioxide is heavier than air. The cloud flowed like a silent flood down valleys at 45 miles per hour. Invisible, odorless, lethal. People died in their sleep. Entire families extinguished without sound. Livestock collapsed. Birds fell from the sky. Survivors found a landscape of corpses, people frozen mid-action. No wounds, no visible cause, just silence. What makes Lake Nyos so terrifying is the complete absence of warning. The lake looked normal afterward, still blue, still calm. You'd never know it had killed 1,700 people. Scientists call this a limnic eruption, extremely rare. Only 3 lakes worldwide have these conditions: Nyos, Monoun, and Lake Kivu, near 2 million people. Authorities evacuated permanently. Scientists installed degassing tubes to bleed the lake slowly, preventing another explosion. But if the system fails, the lake could kill again. The contamination remains, and the volcanic activity that makes the region fertile also charges the lake with invisible death. Today, villages around Lake Nyos are ruins. The lake remains, monitored, beautiful as ever, reflecting sky and clouds as if nothing happened. That's Lake Nyos, the most dangerous, beautiful place on Earth. Not because it looks deadly, but because it doesn't. Where 1,700 people died without understanding why. Where a lake smiled with sunlight while building a weapon beneath. From canyon edges to toxic waters to lakes that explode, each place teaches the same truth. Beauty and danger are partners. The most stunning places are stunning because they're extreme and unforgiving. But these places aren't malicious. They simply exist, following laws older than civilization. We're the ones who project safety onto beauty, who assume gorgeous must also be gentle. The question isn't whether we should visit. We probably will. The question is whether we'll bring respect along with our cameras, whether we'll listen to warnings and remember that every beautiful, dangerous place has claimed lives from people who thought they'd be the exception. So next time you stand before something breathtaking, take the photo. Feel the awe. But also ask, do I understand what I'm looking at? Do I respect what it can do? Because beauty that can kill you is still beautiful, but you have to survive it to remember why you came. Which location shocked you most? Have you visited any of these places? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this journey, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and stay respectful of the places that remind us we're not as in control as we think.